If trying your best isn't working, how is trying harder going to work? If trying your absolute best isn't working, how is trying harder going to work? You've been trained to believe that if you work for something and it doesn't work out, that's your fault, and it means that something must be wrong with you or with your efforts. And so the only other option that you see is to continue trying, hoping that your continuous trying is going to somehow bring you a result different than the one that trying your best is not getting you to. If you're trying really hard to get someone's love and it's not working, you think that if you stop trying, that's what's going to make you not get their love. But the truth is, you're absolutely trying your best is not getting you their love. So why do you think that taking that away is going to be the reason that you don't get their love? Like, have you been thinking really hard and feeling really hard that maybe at some point they're going to turn around and say, oh my goodness, you've been doing all of this to get my love, and I really appreciate you and I love you back? Like, is that what you think is going to happen? Is that why you continue to give your best to somebody who will never, ever, ever see your best? To somebody who will always see your flaws as the biggest priority for why they don't love you? Do you really think that someone who has the value system that says, I'm going to see somebody who is amazing, I'm going to see somebody who is so good for me, who is so kind to me, who, if they know that something makes me happy, they want to do it, and if they know that something upsets me, they stay away from it. I see that person, and I'm just going to look at them and say, something must be off here. There's no way that you're actually like this. There's no way that you're this good of a person. And I'm going to see everything that you're doing, and I'm going to see everything that you are, and I'm still going to say, you don't deserve my love. Do you want someone who has that value system to love you? Because let me tell you something. A person like that, with that kind of value system, only loves those who make them feel like they're inferior, like something is wrong with them. They only go for those who make them have to chase after them. They only go for those who they feel like they can't get, which is exactly why they worked really hard to get you at first, and then once they got you, that was it. It was over. Their value system tells them to prove their worth by getting what they believe they don't deserve, and once they get it, they think, you must not be that great because I have you. It's messed up. Moral of the story is, trying harder to get the love or affection of someone like that is not going to work. Doing more is not going to work. And I'm not going to tell you to play games and do less just so that they could feel like, oh, I need to get a little bit more out of you, so I'm going to try harder. Don't play games. Once you realize that somebody is not the right person for you and their values don't align with yours, and the way that they see people and the world is not the way that you see people in the world, because compatibility is very important. I'm not telling you to meet somebody or find somebody who is exactly like you. That's not what I'm saying. But compatibility on worldviews is important. Compatibility on kindness is important. Compatibility on seeing the value in another person, compatibility on seeing the value in women, on seeing the value in men, on seeing the value in the elderly, on seeing the value in people from different parts of the world. All of that really matters when it comes to finding a person who is right for you. look for that kind of compatibility on worldviews, on values, on the system that they operate from. How do they see themselves? How do they see themselves in relation to the world? How do they see you? How do they see you in relation to their world? Once you feel like what you have to offer is not welcome or is considered as the absolute bare minimum, when you are working yourself to the bone and you're like, how is this considered the bare minimum? I'm doing so much and you're not doing anything. When what you have to offer gets you to the point where you end up feeling so depleted and so resentful because you know that none of it is being seen and none of it is being appreciated, and you are not being valued, you are not being the recipient of any kind of gratitude. I'm not saying life works in a way where you go like this and you're like, you don't see my value, you don't see the value of what I have to offer, therefore I'm immediately going to walk away. Some people can do that. Most people can't, especially if you are a deeply feeling person, especially if you are a deeply empathetic person. Once you feel like you are in a position where that's how you are being devalued, or that's how you are being diminished, being made to feel like you're trying so hard, it's on you. I never asked you to do that. This is what you're choosing to do. Once you feel like there isn't that reciprocation that is just so normal in human interactions, I urge you to begin the journey of really asking yourself if that's the kind of life that you want to live. I urge you to start thinking back to the earliest stories in your life when you started believing that doing your absolute best is the bare minimum to be worthy. Because doing your absolute best is a lot and it's exhausting. So for you to feel like you constantly have to be exerting yourself and doing your absolute best to get people to see you and see your value and to consider you a good person, that's exhausting and that's a lot, and that's not meant for you to live that way every single day and all the time. You are allowed to not be perfect. You are allowed to do the bare minimum on some days. You are allowed to not be the one who never makes mistakes and who's always so hospitable and you always do the right thing for everybody else. You're not a saint. That's not the way that you're meant to live your life. Go back to those stories. When did you start believing that trying your absolute best was the bare minimum, and start unwinding those patterns and those beliefs about yourself and start living in a way, maybe even if it's 5 minutes a day, where you have no expectations of yourself whatsoever, other than to just be with yourself, other than to think of yourself and what you want, other than to ask yourself, do I have the energy or capacity to do my absolute best today? And when you do it little by little, you'll start doing it a little bit more and a little bit more until you get to a point where making the decision to walk away becomes so easy, because it aligns now with your new belief about yourself that you don't have to do your absolute best to be the bare minimum of a good human being. Once you start believing that, and once you start believing that in human relationships and connections, there is that reciprocity. And when you're not getting your end of things, when you're meeting every single expectation that another person has, but none of your expectations or your needs or your wants or the things that make you happy or the things that make your life easier, when you're not receiving those, maybe that's not the right person for you. And once you start really believing that, you'll act based on it. I hope this helps, and have a lovely day.